A tragic incident has ignited a fierce debate on policing and public safety in the UK. A teenager died from a stab wound while in police custody, and the implications of this event are sweeping through the nation. Here's everything we know so far. As the situation develops, several outcomes could unfold in the coming days and weeks following the recent incident involving local law enforcement. The first likely step is an official statement from the police detailing their account of the events and addressing public concerns. This response is crucial as it sets the tone for the community's trust in the police. In recent years, incidents of police misconduct have sparked widespread outrage and demands for reform, creating a heightened sensitivity around law enforcement practices. Subsequently, an investigation from an independent oversight body is expected, tasked with thoroughly examining the actions of the officers involved. This independent scrutiny is essential for ensuring transparency and fostering public confidence in the process. Protests may escalate, drawing larger crowds and amplifying calls for accountability if the community feels their concerns are not adequately addressed. Experts predict that this incident could lead to renewed discussions in Parliament regarding police reforms and the potential for legislative changes aimed at enhancing accountability measures. Observers will be watching closely for any video evidence that may surface, as this could significantly influence public opinion and the response from law enforcement. The key question remains: how will the public react if the investigation reveals systemic failures within the police force? Such revelations could ignite further unrest and demands for comprehensive reforms. The incident underscores the urgent need for transparency and accountability in law enforcement, as communities increasingly demand justice. Looking ahead, the outcomes of the investigation and subsequent public responses will likely shape the future of policing in the region, emphasizing the critical role of community engagement in driving necessary changes and fostering a safer environment for all residents. To understand the current crisis, it's essential to examine the broader context of policing in the UK over the past few years. The UK has faced increasing scrutiny regarding police conduct, particularly related to use of force incidents. This scrutiny intensified after the death of George Floyd in the United States, which ignited a global movement advocating for police reform and accountability. In the UK, several high-profile cases, including the deaths of Sarah Everard and Roshan Charles, have prompted intense debates surrounding police practices. These tragic incidents have raised questions about the use of restraint, emergency response protocols, and the overall accountability of law enforcement agencies. Activists have long highlighted the need for comprehensive training for officers in de-escalation techniques and crisis intervention. They argue that these measures could potentially prevent further tragedies and foster more positive interactions between police and communities. The recent incident involving a teenager has reignited these discussions, underscoring the urgent need for reform in policing practices. Calls for change are driven by a collective desire for justice and the protection of vulnerable communities, particularly those disproportionately affected by police actions. This tragedy has the potential to serve as a flashpoint, drastically altering the landscape of public discourse around policing and safety in the UK. As communities demand accountability and transparency, the government may be compelled to take decisive action. Policymakers face the challenge of addressing systemic issues within law enforcement while striving to restore public trust. The outcome of these discussions could lead to significant legislative changes shaping the future of policing in the UK. In this pivotal moment, it is crucial that all stakeholders engage in constructive dialogue to ensure that reforms prioritize the safety and dignity of all individuals, fostering a more equitable society. The recent tragic death of a teenager during a police encounter has sparked a wave of protests and demands for accountability across the UK. This incident, which occurred under contentious circumstances, has ignited public anger and grief, prompting citizens to take to the streets in several cities. Activists and community leaders are calling for immediate answers and transparency regarding the events leading up to the teenager's death. Eyewitness accounts suggest that the circumstances surrounding the encounter were highly questionable, raising critical concerns about law enforcement protocols. The scale of these protests could rival previous movements advocating for police reform, particularly in light of the UK's history with similar incidents that have raised questions about law enforcement practices. The context surrounding this event is critical. The UK has seen a series of high-profile cases involving police use of force, which have fueled ongoing debates about systemic racism and the need for comprehensive reform within policing. High-profile cases, such as the deaths of George Floyd in the United States and Sarah Everard in the UK, have galvanized public sentiment against perceived injustices. Trust between law enforcement and communities, especially marginalized groups, has been eroded over the years, and this incident may further exacerbate those tensions. The emotional toll on the community is palpable, as families and friends of the victim seek justice and accountability from those sworn to protect them. The potential economic ramifications of this unrest cannot be overlooked. Local businesses are on high alert, preparing for possible disruptions that could arise from continued protests and civil disobedience. Additionally, the public's perception of policing standards will come under intense scrutiny. Citizens are increasingly questioning the adequacy of existing protocols governing the use of force, and this incident may serve as a catalyst for broader discussions about training, oversight, and accountability measures within police departments. Looking ahead, the implications of this incident will likely resonate beyond national borders, influencing global conversations about policing practices and human rights. As societal demands for justice and reform grow louder, it is imperative that authorities engage meaningfully with the community to address these concerns. The future of policing in the UK may hinge on the outcomes of these protests and the commitment to implementing real change. On June 3, 2026, a significant incident occurred in the UK that has raised serious questions about police procedures and public safety. A teenager, whose identity has not been disclosed, died from a stab wound while being handcuffed by police officers. The event unfolded in a residential neighborhood, triggering an immediate response from law enforcement. Initial reports suggest that the police were attempting to detain the teen when the stabbing occurred, although the exact circumstances remain unclear. Eyewitnesses reported chaotic scenes, with multiple police vehicles arriving at the location shortly after the incident. The timing of the death, which took place in the late afternoon around 4 p.m., has led to widespread speculation regarding the police's use of force and adherence to protocols during the arrest. This tragic event occurs against a backdrop of heightened scrutiny of police actions in the UK, particularly following a series of high-profile cases involving alleged police brutality. Public sentiment has been increasingly critical of law enforcement agencies, with many citizens demanding greater accountability and transparency. The fact that a teenager was fatally injured while restrained, rather than in a situation where he posed an immediate threat, adds a shocking layer to this narrative. Such incidents often ignite debates about systemic issues within policing, including training, mental health support, and community relations. The impact of this incident is already being felt across the nation. Activist groups have organized protests, urging the government to reevaluate policing policies and implement reforms aimed at preventing similar tragedies. Calls for an independent investigation into the circumstances surrounding the teenager's death are growing louder, reflecting a broader desire for change in how police conduct themselves during encounters with the public. This incident has galvanized community leaders and activists who are advocating for comprehensive reviews of law enforcement tactics. Looking ahead, this incident may serve as a catalyst for significant policy changes within law enforcement agencies. As the investigation unfolds, it will be crucial for police leadership to engage with communities to rebuild trust and address concerns. The outcome could also influence upcoming legislative discussions on police reform, potentially shaping the future landscape of public safety and community police relations in the UK. The nation now stands at a pivotal crossroads, where the demand for justice may drive meaningful reforms in policing practices. As we await further developments, how will the public's reaction shape the conversation around police reform? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for daily deep dives into critical issues.